All right. Here we go, back again on the other side of the coin.
Welcome back to the other side of the coin, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to the other side of the coin. Just as when you think that maybe there is some glimmer of hope to one day catch up to Man City and Liverpool and actually compete in the Premier League against them. And then a sucker blow comes in out of nowhere, and these two clubs, they are so proactive. Their board is so proactive. Their scouts are so proactive. They seize opportunities. They don't muck about. Like, they really don't muck about. If they don't like a player, they get rid of that player very, very quickly. When they see a good opportunity, they hunt quick and get a very good deal done, efficient deal done. It's hard. It's hard to compete against an establishment when they move like that. The only way you can compete is you've got to be able to match them. You've got to be able to be proactive. You've got to be able to look after your household. We're going to get into a lot of different things, but before we do that, I've got my bad boy Ryan. Nearly 50 of you guys are live already after 1 minute. Smash the like button. Get those likes up to 50 immediately. We're going to have another sensational stream. I can't wait to connect with each and every one of you guys, what you guys have to say. We're going to articulate a very, very interesting discussion. We're going to touch on many things, as I said. But first of all, Ryan, my man, how you doing?
Yo, Miz, and everybody who's tuned in, I'm excited because there's no tactical board today. It's just Chelsea board talk. And,
you never know, but Ryan, you never know. Things could just pop out.
You never know. I always have it there. But yeah, I know everybody's frustrated these few weeks with Chelsea, this and that, but I'm excited to be here, man. I miss talking to Miz. It's been a couple of weeks, so happy to be here.
Nah, 100%, man, 100%. Really good to have you as well, Ryan. Ladies and gentlemen, as I said, 50 of you guys are live right now. Let's do a quick shout out before we get into this. Sai Krishna, my man, you're always here. Thank you so much for your support all the time. Sukamoto Sukushi, I've never seen you. Good to see you, man. Good to see you. Alex Abhishek Matthews, one of my specials. Thank you so much for being here. Mr. Rich, Shubhajyoti Roy, my man, is here. We've got Ghana, Germany culture here. Alteza, another one of my specials are here. Who else we got here? Horizont is here. Then we've got Gugulethu, another all-timer is here. We've got KB. We've got Sackable Offense, ladies and gentlemen. Things always get spicy when Sackable Offense is around. You better be careful. Mike J, something. Manaf is here from class. I mean, honestly, Manaf, concentrate on your studies, but yeah, every now and then do tune in, keeping track of everything, I suppose. But yeah, make sure you're concentrating on studies. I don't want your parent to then come after me. Ben Stokes going great guns. Not for England. I think West Indies are smashing them as well, right, Ryan, at the moment?
2-1, we never know the West Indies. We have 2 more matches in the series. So.
Yeah, so it's going to be 3-2, isn't it, for England? Yeah,
that's exactly most likely.
So is Ryan going to have a rant today, or Miz excited now? Well, I'm not really sure if Ryan's a ranting type of a man. Maybe I'll be the ranter, and Ryan can provide the other side of the coin, I suppose, or the intellectual side of this conversation. We've got Tariq here, Emmanuel here, AJ here, Luge Bats. I hope I pronounced that right. Aka, my man. Good to see you. Machiavelli, good to see you, my man. This is great. We've got nearly 70 people live. Let's smash the like button. Let's get those likes up to 70 immediately. Let's not dilly-dally around on the likes. If you're here for the first time, subscribe. Make sure you subscribe. Hit the bell notification. Check out Ryan and his socials. It's all there in the description. Make sure you follow him on Twitter. 100% his threads are buzzing. And very soon, this guy is going to be a blue tick individual. So you better get to know him immediately before he becomes official. Ryan, let's start this conversation, man. Off air, I was obviously talking to you about Luis Diaz to Liverpool. You were sort of saying you're not completely aware of who the player is. That's fine. That's by the by, I suppose. Man City in recent times have got Julian Alvarez. Their scouts have done a bit of a job over there. I think it's roughly around 20 million euros for a striker. They're claiming him to be the Aguero region. I've got no doubt Pep Guardiola is going to do madness. I want to start talking about, first of all, the board and being proactive, right? Being proactive. And we're going to touch on many other stuff, academy players. We're going to talk about, scouting, never backing a manager when we're actually doing good. But first, I want to talk about being proactive. Our board and our scouts being proactive in transfer market, right? Look, we're now on 28th of January, Ryan. We're not going to do any business, looks like. Athletic article that just came out literally about a couple of hours ago from Simon Johnson saying Malang Sarr looks like he's the option for the left side, whether it be left back, whether it be left wing back. He's the situation there. The board is quite happy with it, and Thomas Tuchel's quite happy with it. Seems like that's the conversation. On the right side, the word is Reece James will be back and should be in the squad for the Club World Cup. So there won't be any purchases on the right side. There's all these rumors about Moussa Dembele, but that won't happen if you don't actually get rid of a particular forward or an attacker, because we've got a lot of attackers. Ron, I just want to say, surely, like from your perspective, I just want to know, like I initially thought maybe it's okay that we're not doing anything, but at the same time I'm thinking, well, at least you can still look at where can you strengthen. Like look at Liverpool with Luis Diaz. Like they moved in quick because they saw Spurs moving in on this player, and they made sure they got this wide winger, and now they've got themselves Salah, Mane, Luis Diaz, Jota, and they still have Firmino as well. And Luis Diaz is an incredible player. It fits that aggressive wide winger direct attitude for Liverpool. Klopp's going to do a madness. He presses well. He tackles well. He's going to fit into the Premier League nicely. I just want to ask you, let's start this conversation for me. We can still be proactive in January, right? Like we can still look at areas where we can improve somewhat, one, or maybe even do a pre-contract, something like Man City with Julian Alvarez, who's going to join at the start of next season. I mean, what's your thoughts about this particular situation?
Well, just like everybody, I was pretty angry over this past month, but I had some time to think about it and do some research onto our past signings and our approach. In regards to this January, I could understand where Chelsea is coming from, because I know that it's known now that they've recorded some losses in the past year, economic losses, right? Financial losses.
Yeah.
Now, the reason that we aren't able to build this team is one, yes, everybody's pointing it out. We never had a long-term or like a 4-year philosophy. We didn't have a manager to actually cash in on and build something from the ground up and get rid of the deadwood. But just let's circle that last sentence there a little bit. It's that as long as there is these, not deadwood, but fringe players in Chelsea, we won't be able to build the squad that we want. I think that with the French players we have maximized how much players we could bring in already through that 6-player transfer window we had under Lampard. And I'll talk about that later, of course, because I don't think the board is to blame for all of that. But we've maximized that right now, because any player you bring in now, it may cause more dressing room problems, more unrest, more problems for a manager.
Understood.
Next thing about it, any players you bring in now is that they don't want it. Yes, it's an emergency situation, but if it is not first choice for the long-term option, it might as well be an ex-Emerson or an ex-person that you don't want around in 18 months' time, but we can't sell them. So now we'll just end up in the same cycle that we didn't scout somebody in the long term who we really want to invest in, because we just bought out of situational needs, and then we end up like that.
Just on that, just hold that thought. I just want to interject a particular question to you. You make a lot of sense, Ryan. You're saying that we've got a heavy squad we need to get rid of before we can start including. Well, my question then, Ryan, is what is stopping us to get rid of these players? I mean, live chat, let me know. Wasn't Ferran Torres, and maybe you know this, Ryan, wasn't he bought earlier this season or was he bought last season for Man City, Ferran Torres? Live chat, help me out. Was it this season or last season did Ferran Torres come in? Whatever the case is, Man City did not waste their time. They saw that this player is not really fitting in or not enjoying or whatever the case is. They dusted their hands off and did a very good deal with Barcelona and got this done. Live chat saying last season, fair enough. Last season, only one season, and then this season they've got to a situation that we need to get rid of this player, and they've got rid of this player 1st January. Like the deal happened straight away. Like the deal actually happened in December. 1st January just became official. What's stopping us, Ryan, from being ruthless? Like, have we not seen enough of these players? Or are we hoping
No.
maybe the 3rd season they're going to be better? Like, or what about players like Barkley? Or what about other players? Do you know what I mean?
I understand. Yes, City are ruthless in that way. I think ruthless are a bad word. They just the players on board and manager in one direction, whether they want to leave or stay, right? And there's a good understanding and communication on all 3 fronts, which we don't really have. It's like, but that's our next issue. But when we talk about our fringe players compared to City's fringe players, our fringe players are. I'm not talking about Loftus-Cheek here, which is still a good player for our squad. I'm talking about players like Bakayoko, Barkley, Drinkwater, players of these kind, Batshuayi, these guys who just can't seem to get off our books. The thing is, I feel that there are opportunities to sell these players, but the same thing that we praise Marina or Chelsea board for getting good sales of players, and we have all these like long tweets with like a list of 10 players and how much we got for them, and we're praising her with those fan cams on Twitter. Well, this is the same exact reason that we can't get rid of these other players, because we want as much as we could for these players, but it's kind of delusional in a way. So it's like a double-edged sword that
I mean, why do you think that's the case, Ryan? I mean, are we scared to cut our losses? Like, are we scared to make a loss? Like, it doesn't take a rocket scientist to realize these players you will not make a profit out of. Like, you might as well just get whatever money you can get. Like, the perfect example, Ryan, is I think Michy Batshuayi when he went to Dortmund. Do you remember when he went to Dortmund on a loan? After that loan, Dortmund apparently offered us somewhere around 40 million euros. Correct me if I'm wrong.
Bakayoko's first loan was good, and I think AC Milan wanted him. They wanted him on a permanent. We didn't. We wanted more. We wanted more.
Why?
Because we always try to match our buying price, which is kind of unrealistic. If you buy someone, a lot of times they're going to go undervalue if you want to sell them after one season. Obviously, they're not good enough. So you can't expect to sell them for the exact price. You know what I mean? Especially if you didn't work on them. I mean, at the end of the day, Pep still made Ferran a better player. You know what I mean? And he could sell him for a bit. But us now, we kind of make Bakayoko worse. So we can't expect to have the same or more price for him. So it's 2 different stories at the same time. And I think that's one thing about our board. It's run by business people, not football people.
But even then, Ryan, even business people, these are bad business decisions. It's like, think about it. Okay, let's think about it from a business point of view, since you've actually said something quite interesting here. Business minded, even if they're thinking about these players as, let's say, stocks in a share market, you gotta know when to get rid of your stock when it's plummeting. You need to know what's your exit strategy. Holding on to something and hoping they're going to bounce back once again. Hope is the worst way to deal with business.
But at the end of the day, yes, we say it's business. It's not football and people. But at the end of the day, you need to know your product. And the thing is, if it's not football people that really running it, they would make those mistakes. You know what I mean? A
Right, I see what you
footballer
mean.
board,
Like they don't really know what their product is. They don't know these
yeah.
footballers.
They would say, well, maybe next season that price will raise, give it 6 months again. You can't buy anybody else. I want you to work on this player because they don't really have that football and brain. Their decisions are made based on football and tactics and this or philosophies based on try to get results as fast as possible, sack managers, and keep this cycle going.
No, 100%. And I want to now, I'll definitely get into this Rafa Javed's comment, which is very, very interesting. Liverpool, for example, they used to have players like Jordan Shaqiri. They kept him for a couple of seasons, didn't work out, they've got rid of him. And they've had many players like that. Certain players they still keep, like for example, Origi. They think that there's a benefit for keeping him off the bench, and he's proving that for Liverpool, I suppose, as a sort of super sub. Man City, they've got rid of many players. Do you know what I mean? Like since Pep's come on, they've kept the ones that, as you said, believe Pep's ideology, the club's ideology. And before we now move on to this point from Rafa, I want to ask you, Ryan, our main goal, our main objective is not just to have cup runs, is to be competitive in the league for years and years and years. And by competitive, I don't mean battle for top four. I'm talking about battling for the title and making sure that you're within striking distance of the leader or you are the leader. I mean, how do we start sharpening these things up? Because the way our rivals are moving, Ryan, Thomas Tuchel himself ain't going to be enough.
Yeah.
There are many things that's got to fall in line before we can even think about catching up to them. I mean, what's your thoughts on that?
I think that I just really have everybody mentions Klopp and Pep and compare them to Tuchel's situation. I kind of don't. I think it's different context when you really think about it, right? Because Klopp came in with a reputation for the past, say, nearly 8 years. Came with a solid reputation, and Liverpool knew that they were going to count on this man on the long term. This was a new project, a new life in Liverpool. You know what I mean? A new chapter, not even a chapter, but a book for Liverpool. Same thing with Pep Guardiola, one of the best managers of all time, what he did at Barca and Bayern. When we got Tuchel, right? I remember all the YouTube videos with everybody, George Benson, everybody. Those say that in their manager rank list, they had him as 5th or 6th on the list because they don't like his attitude, that he falls out with boards and this and that. Right? Nobody saw Tuchel as the guy to take us for 5 years. Maybe some people, I know PYS always liked Tuchel. It had some people who watch Dortmund and always liked Tuchel. But even with PSG's Tuchel, a lot of people were adamant on it, and they were very angry when Frank got sacked, and they thought that it's only a matter of time till Tuchel fall on the board because he's very on edge and this and that.
Very argumentative against the board.
In retrospect, you always get that perspective because you know what happens, but back then it's hard to know the future. This was the best manager to come in then, but we have to realize that we fully backed the manager just 6 months before. Because I know people say this may not be Lampard signings, but I recall Lampard saying that Ziyech and reports saying that Ziyech were under Chelsea's radar for about 8 months before we actually bought him, right?
Yeah.
Werner, Frank Lampard actually talked to Werner on the phone, getting him to come. And we say now we're not proactive and other teams we get Werner instead of Liverpool. Havertz, right? Havertz, it had Bayern and Real Madrid wanted him, but we took that opportunity and was proactive to get him during a pandemic. Yes, we had a transfer ban, we had more money, but we still went and get him. While other players wanted the best asset in Europe. It didn't work out. We thought it would, but it could still. And we backed our manager. I'm sure he had a say with that too. And even if he didn't, if it was a board signing, all of us wanted him since May and we're begging under every single tweet and every single video for him. Thiago Silva, a wonderful opportunity. Mendy, Frank Lampard wanted him again. We went there, we said we had a manager under a transfer ban who was bringing in young players from the academy. and we said we want to build a project with you, right? And we actually and we built on a philosophy that Sari started, which is an attacking possession based philosophy, right? So we went and get three managers that's similar in philosophy, not in formation or system, but philosophy, right? So that's three good. That's a good thing the board did there. It's not like they went one from Sari to a Conte to a Tuchel to a Mourinho, and it's four different philosophies in a row. If you think about it, Mourinho to Conte is not a big transition in philosophy. From Rafa to Mourinho to Conte, it's three similar managers, three similar philosophies. That's why we
Yeah.
were able to win Premier League after Premier League, right?
Yeah.
And trophy after trophy. We were
Very
able
good
to
point.
still
Very good
hold
point.
up
Yeah.
because it's not only lack of plan and everybody bashes the board in retrospect. Then we'll win three trophies in May and we'll be like, wow. But the thing is, listen, I have a lot to say on the board what I don't like, especially regarding to Lukaku signing and this and that. But I'm just talking about the other side of the coin, starting dating back from before when we talk about Klopp and Tuchel.
No,
So
I love that. I love how you bring in that other side because, or else this discussion will just be one way. But yeah, continue, bro.
yeah, so that window there, we decided to invest in one Frank Lampard's players that he wanted, and we backed a manager for the first time, really. And not only that, is that we need to also talk about that Sarri wanted to leave. And when Sarri now came in, he came in last minute, right? And
Yeah.
then still after last minute, we got Jorginho for so much money, his main player that he wanted in our system,
Yeah.
right? So, but Sarri wanted to leave. So a lot of people say we chop and change, chop and change. But we need to remember that Sarri wanted to leave. We wanted Sarri to stay. Sarri even came out and said in an interview a couple months ago that he should have never left Chelsea.
Yeah. He wanted to go. He wanted to go. The
Yeah, he
board
wanted
didn't
to
push
go.
him out. Yeah. Yeah.
Lampard came in, and we could all agree that after a few months, that Lampard just wasn't not tactically,
Wasn't up to the standard tactically.
up, not only up to the standard, but with the caliber of players we had, it wasn't standard wingers, standard number nine, standard midfielders. It's like a modern thing where
Correct.
players hybrids. You have
Correct.
hybrid players now, and when you have hybrid players, you need modern tactics, different formations, different more flexibility. It's not the standard players, and that's what Frank didn't really realize how to cope with, right? So we got in Tuchel. So let's go back to my original point. We got in Tuchel, and he was known for this fiery person, this and that. Yes, he earned our trust from a fan's perspective. Everything was rosy and nice within about 4 months where he won the Champions League, right?
Yeah.
But for a board who knows Tuchel on an 18-month contract, you can't just give a manager the world, right? In one transfer, and after 4 months, when you already give a previous manager the world and they fluked it by January, you can't just you already spent more than 200 and something million for
Okay.
one
Now,
manager.
just pause that for a second. They've given because you've now come to a really good juncture where you're talking about they gave the world to Frank Lampard. Let's touch a little bit on that, right? I was talking to, I tweeted something out in Twitter, and this guy replied back to me, "Oh, I thought you're one of those guys that was so excited with the board when we got all those players under Frank Lampard." I didn't reply anything because in Twitter you can't elaborate on your answer. And now that you've brought this point up, it's perfect. Yes, as a fan, I was very excited that what the board did with Frank Lampard got all these players. But if you pause and think about it, and this is what I want to ask you, Ryan, the board gave the world to Frank Lampard. But what was the thought process on giving the players that they gave to Frank Lampard? I mean, what was the style of football that Frank was going to play? Were the individuals met that demand, that philosophy, or that idea of how Frank wanted to play? Because as far as I know, when the Athletic article came out, when Frank got sacked, that said that Frank wanted Tarkowski in defense. Frank wanted Declan Rice in midfield. The only Frank signing was actually Ben Chilwell. Frank
Oh, I
wanted
forgot about him.
Aubameyang. Sorry, what was that, Ryan?
I forgot about Chilwell, when I was
Yeah,
adding to all the people that Frank talked to. So it's even worse for Frank now because it's the next one.
yeah.
Um,
Frank apparently wanted Aubameyang, and the board opted out from that and went with Timo Werner because much younger, so on and so forth, and whatnot. Aubameyang might have costed a little bit more money. The article never it once said that Kai Havertz was a Frank Lampard request. As you've said, it was a board thing. So I want to ask you, Ryan, before we move on to the Tuchel section, what was going through the board's mind to get like as a fan? Obviously, we're going to be happy with all the shiny toys, but I'm not the board, and I'm not the scout, and I'm not someone who monitors a plan, a project, a philosophy. What was their plans in getting Werner, Havertz, Ziyech, Pulisic? Thiago Silva, obviously fantastic. I can understand from a defense point of view. Chilwell, fine. We needed a left back. But the attackers that I've just named, from your perspective, what was... Because none of them screamed to me as, besides Ziyech, none of them really screamed to me as possession-based footballers.
Yeah, well, one, I think when it comes to that question where you asked Pulisic, I'll just start with him. I think the board knew quite well that Hazard was going to leave in the summer, and that was a proactive signing they did there. So another example where the board has been proactive. Pulisic at that time was a top talent, a really high top about talent, even with injury problems back then. So I could understand that signing. We had a direct left wing replacement before Hazard even left. So that was really good from us. When you talk about possession-based footballers, I actually was thinking about this and I have some stats here, right?
I love
Firstly,
this.
Ziyech, we said this already. Ziyech is a possession-based footballer. He came from Ajax. He was probably one of the best wingers slash playmakers in Ajax and in the Champions League for many seasons, right?
Yep.
I think like in the season before we bought him, he actually had 9 goals, 20 assists.
But he had
Which
something
is
incredible. The
fantastic.
stats was mad. The stats
And
were mad at Ajax.
then in the 18-19 season, in that magical season, he had 21 goals, 24 assists.
Oh my god.
Yeah.
Wow.
Then just to say before that, even that one, he's young. 9 goals, 18 assists. So that means constantly for 3 seasons, he had nearly or more than 30 goals slash assists to his name in a possession-based style. Now, I know in retrospect, we could say we need a player from a possession-based team, but when we think about it, really, possession-based teams is usually probably first and second or third in every league, or not even second or third, is probably first, right? When teams park the bus against people, right?
Yeah.
Many signings where you get from people aren't going to be from teams that solely play possession based. If you watch, I'm not gonna defend Werner, but I'm going to say that when you asked me what's the thought process behind the signings, right?
Yeah.
Under Nagelsmann, when I watched Werner, his abilities was completely different from what we see at Chelsea. His first touch was good. He could have run past players. It had many times that what is it? Leipzig, sorry. Leipzig was a possession. Yes, most of the goals this year was him running into space and scoring, but it had many phases of the game where they were against low blocks and he used to chop and interchange and play off Paulson really well.
Right.
Playing off a big striker like that, because if you know Nagelsmann, he's an attacking manager. He's not a counter-attacking manager. So if you think about it on paper, if things had went right with Werner, we would say yes, he came from an attacking based manager. Right?
So are you saying we didn't know how to use Werner like during Frank Lampard time? Is that sort of you're saying like Nagelsmann knew how to utilize him?
Yeah, I'm saying exactly that, because when you think about the kind of players we had Tammy Abraham, we had Giroud, we had two pure number 9s, then we brought in someone who is who's a left-sided striker. But so this is what I'm thinking about Lampard. How did you plan to use Aubameyang, or you plan to use Werner? Where did you plan to use them? The wing all the time?
I don't think he had. This is my issue, Ryan. I don't think. I'm just saying that Frank wanted these players, but I don't think he thought about it. And I don't think even the board sat down with Frank to understand how he would attack a team the season after the first one. Do you know what I'm trying to say, Ryan? Like, they didn't sit down and actually articulate, well, how are we going to tackle to make sure we're competitive with the players that we've got in. Like, you know, when we sit down, Ryan, and we talk about tactical analysis and we break down, all right, how's Chelsea going to attack this particular opposition? I don't think they did that.
Yeah.
I think they just thought, get this player, get that player, we put them together, we throw them into the field, and let's pray to God that it works out.
No, because I was thinking exactly. I think that when I actually wrote down this too, I did a lot of preparation for this, by the way. But I think it's 43, but I'll get into that in 1 minute. I just want to just end off on Werner here, that he was playing
Yeah.
under attacking base manager, and then before that he also played under Ragnick. So he played under some good managers in his time who
Yeah.
have an attacking based philosophy, who is not just counter attacking, who is pressing based. So one, he presses really well. That's what we wanted in our new philosophy. Second, he's a blistering modern attacker. And he did play possession based. Yes, it wasn't 60-70% possession like Pep, but you need to think possession based as in phases of the game. You can't think about whole game being possession. You need to say, what could he do in this phase of the game? And he did really well. And it's just,
Yeah.
I think it's full on confidence and new league that kind of really, I think it's a lot to do with mental, to be honest. But the season
Right.
that we bought him, he actually had 34 goals and 13 assists. That's incredible numbers.
He was killing it in Leipzig, Ryan. He
And
was.
it's not only Bundesliga, because in the Champions League he had 4 goals and 2 assists also. And that was in a season where was like interrupted by COVID also. And
Yeah.
34 goals, 13 assists in a COVID season. That's crazy. That's crazy numbers. Even before that, he had 19 goals and 10 assists. So again, and for 3 seasons in a row, and season before that, 21 goals, 10 assists. And next player after Ziyech, 3 seasons in a row, 30 goals / assists, more than 30 goals / assists. So that's like, we're not only just quickly short-term buying a player and watching them for 5 months. It's 3 seasons before they did very, very well. I know you asked me that question. What was the planning behind it? I think our plan was suited to a 4-3-3, single pivot. I really think so, because at the end of the day, everybody thought Havertz was coming to play central midfield, right-sided central midfield, left-sided central midfielder, who could make late runs into the box as a false 9 if needed, could play in the forward line. But at the end of the day, when Havertz, and he played that position as a number 8, it have videos on Havertz in interviews saying his favorite position is a number 8.
Bro, he said it when he was in Leverkusen that
Yeah.
I'm a number 8. I enjoy playing as a number 8.
And he mostly played on the right side central midfield,
Correct,
right? And
correct,
I also
correct.
have Havertz's numbers here, you know what I mean? In the season right before we bought him, he scored 18 goals and 9 assists as a central midfielder, not as a striker, not as a wing, as a central midfielder. Whereas the season before, he scored 20 goals, 7 assists. So this is next. I can't go 3 seasons because he's only 21. So I'm not gonna like bring up when he was like in high school and shit. But yeah, this is our next part where for more than 2+ seasons he had 30 / goals assists. So you see in here that this is 3 players. And now, are we going to say, everybody always say is Werner possession based? But we need to think about Leverkusen. They played more counter-attacking than anything, but nobody seems to say that about Havertz.
Even Havertz. I mean, just to touch on a couple of the points that you've said, right? And in live chat, a lot of people are asking, is he from Trinidad? Yeah, he is. I can't believe you don't know who Ryan is by now. He is from Trinidad. He's a Trinidadian. Is it Trinidadian? Trini or
Yeah, both.
everybody's both. Okay.
Both.
How long was Nagelsmann there in Leipzig when Werner was there? How many seasons did Nagelsmann have? Do you know, Ryan, by any chance?
I don't know if it's like 1.5, 2 seasons. I'm not sure.
Okay. Basically, the point I'm trying to get to is, was Werner's success in Leipzig not because of himself, but the team that sort of was built around him as well? Like Werner had a player like Poulsen up front. He had midfielders that were looking for his runs. Similarly with Kai Havertz in Leverkusen, Kai Havertz was the main guy. He was the playmaker from central midfield. They were consistently looking for him. Did we, and before we get into the super chat and to other topics that I want to touch on in this whole discussion, did we end up buying in that Frank Lampard, madness when we bought all these players? Did we just buy too many cooks and, the kitchen's just a bit too small for all these cooks? Like, should there have been a little bit more thought process that, okay, what do we need? Do we need a playmaker? Let's get a playmaker. Do we need a wide winger? Okay, which playmaker could complement the winger that, like, do you know what I'm trying to say, Ryan? Like, was there a thought process as to what do we need, where, which areas do we want to strengthen? Because I feel like
I think
that wasn't done.
I think it all worked on paper, and then when they actually came to the Premier League, we saw deficiencies in the players and how much work they really needed to adapt. And I think that we did not wait out the adaptation period in the perfect position, so we started finding solutions, quick solutions, because that's what you need to do at Chelsea to not get sacked. So instead of waiting it out with Havertz at central midfield, we say, nah, you're playing false 9 or right wing, right? Instead of waiting it out with Werner at striker to learn being a false 9, because if you really bought him as a number 9, right? Because we bought him for goals as a number 9, instead of learning how to play a number 9, we say, nah, you're just gonna play left side one time, play left wing. With Ziyech started off in his correct position.
Ziyech was probably the only one that was balling during the Frank Lampard time, because he was playing in the position that he always wanted to play, which is wide right, cutting in.
Yeah, so I think that our team was suited for a 4-3-3, single pivot being Jorginho/Kovacic, and then the 2-8's going to be either one side will be Kovacic/Mount on the left, and then on the right will be Kante/Havertz. I think that was the plan. Now we have two solid options in each position there. In the front three, I think the left was going to be Pulisic/Werner. Number 9 was going to be Werner/Tammy/Giroud, and then right wing going to be Ziyech/whoever else, Hudson-Odoi, and then Hudson-Odoi or Jordan in the mix, right? So there, from the get-go, on paper, it looked well. It's just a matter of it gelling well. But I think that with a club like Chelsea, everything that comes with the media and press and all the pressure and no time to be able to have adaptation period together with the manager that wasn't tactically astute enough to use his players at that time, we went into problem solving disaster mode. Or we tried to find new, as I said, we didn't wait out the time enough to get these players playing in the correct positions. We just kind of solve. And that's kind of like what Tuchel is doing now. He's solving instead of building something.
So true, Ryan. He's on solving mode.
He's thinking with his back against the wall, and he's critically thinking week by week. He doesn't have a long-term plan what he's working for. He's just taking problems as they come each week, solving them, getting the win, and move.
But Ryan, this is detrimental to the long-term situation, right? Like, this is not going to be able to, by putting simply bandages over deep wounds, I think it's detrimental for Tuchel's cause for the long run, right?
Yeah, it is. It is. And I just want to just talk about sackable offense here. We were the most talented number 10 who played mostly as a number 8. And that's just to answer your question there. Havertz mostly played as a number 8. They hardly played in a 4-2-3-1 in Leverkusen. So I don't know how he was most talented. Like, okay, whatever. But yeah, back to Tuchel.
Sackable offense saying that Kai was a number. Board was, by the way, Sackable offense. Thank you so much for the super chat. Board wasn't thinking they bought the most talented number 10 for a manager that plays flat 4-3-3 with 2 8s. Talking about Kai, no ball knowledge.
But that's what Bayer Leverkusen played 2-8.
Yeah, yeah. I don't really think
He played as
Kai
a
was a
right-sided
10
central midfielder.
for. Yeah, yeah. Kai wasn't a 10 for Bayer Leverkusen, right, Ryan? I don't think he played as a 10.
Well, he was attacking number 8, so he used to get in and around those regions, which could be
Yeah,
mistaken for a 10.
yeah, yeah. But yeah, continue. What were you going to say?
No, well, we now reached the part of the story, which is Tuchel. That was my initial point. We know we got full around now, and we reached the Tuchel where we understand that it's only been 4 months. A previous manager have been back fully with our attacking philosophy, and now it was us that to think. Well, not us, but the board and us were thinking during the transfer. All these streams that we had in the transfer window. What does Tuchel need to do with this team to build it to catch up and close the gap? I
Yeah,
think we agreed that we needed wing backs.
we badly needed wing backs. He wanted.
But wait,
Let's talk a little bit about this, Ryan. He wanted Hakimi.
yes. But at the end of
Why
the day,
didn't the board go and just get that done? Why are we penny pinching?
okay, first thing I want to say is that before retrospect is always the best thing,
Hmm.
right? I think I'm using the wrong word here. Even retrospect is the correct word, but there's another better word for it. But one thing,
Hindsight.
hindsight, yes, nice. Retrospect was still correct, but hindsight is the better word. Hindsight is always the best thing because I remember everybody's streams was saying that the only thing missing from this Chelsea team, the main thing, the first thing we need to get is a striker. We need goals. We need goals. We need goals. We need goals. We need a number
We
9.
did say that, but we were. I don't know about you. I was buzzing. Like the people that followed me since then, I was dying for Hakimi. I was dying
Well,
because my picture was Reece James going to be RCB. Hakimi was going to be the right wing back.
well, we did a tactical stream on that because I was so hyped up to what Hakimi coming. We actually did a
Exactly,
tactical
exactly.
stream on that in June, around the same time in the morning at Trinidad. So listen, we need a striker. We got that striker. Ignore my dog barking if you're hearing that.
Hmm.
But yeah, when it comes to we bought 100 million striker, I don't know where this is where I say I have to question the board now. And Tuchel. I need to question Tuchel too because Tuchel came in after preseason and said everything is relaxed. We didn't talk during the whole holidays and we're now going to start talking about transfer issues. I know everything Tuchel is saying is going to be protecting the board and saving face. But
Hmm.
at the end of the day, it was so all of us was talking about 4 to 5 transfer targets and all these news that was dropping, and Tuchel came back and said, "Yeah, we didn't talk about anything yet. We're now gonna start to meet, and everything was relaxed, and everybody was on vacation." And that was like, bro, season starting in 2 weeks. What do you mean? Nobody talked. Um, yeah, but when it comes down to this season now, it was clear that what was my question is I can't even tell you what happened because there's a big question mark between the communication between the board and Tuchel as to what system such philosophy he wanted to play and what he needed to complete it.
Bang
Because
on,
for
bang on.
97 million pounds, if you could get 2 to 3 over average players for that
Hmm.
price that could fit your system and you could improve them
I take that.
versus
I
one
take that.
97 million player who does not
Yep.
fit your system
Yep.
or or philosophy. I don't know what was the plan in there. And the thing is it's not like as if we were in for Lukaku alone, but our second choice signing, well, second signing, what we wanted was a RCB. So
Hmm.
then again, we go back in a circle saying that Hakimi was first, and then but then what about Kunde?
Kunde. Yeah.
Yeah, so
Kunde.
so Kunde was the one where we wanted for a long time too. That reminded me of the kind of Harvard saga that we had that we wanted him throughout the whole transfer window. So I was
We
thinking,
we had it all agreed, Ryan. Like apparently it was all agreed. It was just Sevilla right at the end just did a backflip on us.
but on paper it didn't make sense that why was that second priority Kunde when we definitely needed protection. We needed a starting wing back or somebody who could compete for a starting wing back.
Right.
And then
Yeah.
so and then we needed a central midfielder for protection. Like
Yeah.
to
Sure
just
many. Sure many.
Yeah, Chouamani, but the thing is, I don't know what was the plan. And then it has the next thing between what the fans want, the fan scouting versus manager scouting. A lot of fans just see these top players and just link them to Chelsea, and then afterwards, the papers start catching up, websites catch up with it and start writing on it too to get clicks. By the end of the day, I'm not sure if Tuchel was ever pushing for Chouamani back in the summer. You know what I mean? Even though that was our first choice, that everybody's fans' first choice, right?
Yeah,
I don't
yeah.
know if Tuchel was actually um really pushing for Declan Rice, or that was just people who has this fantasy of
To
Declan
be
Rice
honest, I
coming
get the
in.
feeling he didn't really push for anyone aggressively. He probably suggested to the board, and the board sort of thought, okay, well, as long as our gaffer is not creating a big, he's not hustling, then we'll listen to what he had to say. But if we can't pursue that, we'll give him an alternative. But
And see, the thing
you
is,
know,
I feel
yeah.
like fans don't even know what they want, because somebody just say yes, the board messed up on Kunde, right? But if
Mm,
you spend 60 million on Kunde, realistically, after a window you spent 230 million or more, right?
mm.
Realistically, if you bought Kunde, who to play one of the three CBs when you have three world class CBs already, you can't buy a wing back, you can't buy a defensive midfielder, right? So yeah, so one, the board messed up that they didn't buy Kunde in the summer. But then again, if they did buy Kunde, they would have still not solved the wing back issue or the midfield issue, which we paid for in November and December.
You're absolutely right. You're absolutely, and I'm going to get to all of this. I think the whole Kunde situation, they didn't at that point know that Chalobah was going to become what he is now. So Chalobah sort of wasn't there. Zuma was out of favor, and he was meant to be gone out. And the Kunde situation, not only as an RCB, but anywhere in the back three, could be even in the middle, could even be as a right wing back because he does play right back for France. So they thought that this player can solve many issues for the entirety of the season, whether it be needing rotation or if there's any injury. So from that perspective, I understood that in a back three, with all those different other permutations that I've mentioned, Zuma, Chalobah at that point, not really someone that we thought because we were still going through preseason. But yeah, you're right. Midfielder, we were always short. Kante, Kovacic, Jorginho. And the way we play, we needed someone who would be able to do Jorginho's role, but at the same time also be athletic enough to do the other sides of the game. And I can't believe the board. And this is the thing. I know you're saying that, Ryan, how could you expect the board to splash 60 million for Kunde, further 80 million for Hakimi? But I feel like your manager just won the Champions League. And if you're willing to now back this manager to create a dynasty, you have to give him the players that he needs. And I don't think it's a very good excuse to say, but we spent X amount of money on Havertz, Werner, Ziyech, and the likes. But that was for a manager that you sacked. Do you know what I'm trying to say? Like, you got yourself a Lukaku. Yes, us fans, we were very excited. But many fans, including myself, I always said, is Lukaku the kind of player that Thomas Tuchel needs? Back then, I was also questioning it that Thomas Tuchel, so far from what we saw in the first season, was playing with a fluid front three. Havertz, Werner, Mount, Ziyech, whatever, and they were all moving around. They were not fixated. And Lukaku is not going to be one of those players that's going to be moving all different areas. And they all pressed, all of these players. Lukaku, we know he's not someone who's that pressing type of a player, aggressive pressing. Lukaku has his benefits, but from what we saw and the history of what Tuchel has shown us, the way he plays, it kind of seemed like a bit of a mismatch.
Yeah,
So,
it seems like a mismatch in Tuchel's past, but when in interviews that Tuchel was saying the striker he was looking for was someone who is going to be
A reference
a
point.
focal point, a reference
Yeah.
point. He was asked about Haaland, Lewandowski, and Lukaku. He said those three players have um, um, the same profile where they could be a reference point, and that he wanted a reference point in attack, so players like Werner and Pulisic could play off of. That's what he said. He can get the best out of
Mm-hmm.
those players. So his idea, going forward, he realized that players like Werner and Pulisic don't have the technical ability like a Neymar or Mbappe to do it on their own. They need somebody to play off of. Matisse was saying the other day, I think on All You Can Eat, that our players and someone just turn around and take on players anymore. They need more like link up play between players. They need like Hudson, though, whenever they need someone's around them to pass off of and run into space instead of beating players on their own now. I think he
Mm.
realized that Werner and even Havertz are not going to be guys where there's going to be beating players like Salah and Mane, right?
Mm.
They need players to be playing off of each other. And the next thing is that's exactly how Ajax played with Ziyech.
Mm. Mm.
Players
Mm.
playing off of each other. It wasn't like Ziyech just beating players left, right, and center,
No,
you
he
know.
wasn't. He wasn't.
So
Yeah.
I think that's what he was thinking about in Lukaku in a reference point. I think that Tuchel actually gave. I believe that Tuchel gave the board a profile of striker that he wanted, because we went
Yeah.
into the season saying that we are okay. Listen, as I said, hindsight is our best thing, but we went in there saying that our first thing we needed to handle was like striker goals, because our defense won us the thing, the Champions
True.
League. Now we
Yeah.
needed goals, right? So when Tuchel, this is my why I think Tuchel thought the best way to get goals out of these players is to get a focal point that they could play off. So now we have a goal scorer focal point, as in Lukaku, and now we
Mm.
have players that could play off of him. That's why when Lukaku came in, he played him alongside. He tried with Werner and Havertz. He was trying to get these two players to bang, right?
Mm.
That's what
Mm. Mm.
his that's what he was thinking. Um, and the thing is, we went all out. You know, our board listened to Tuchel what he wanted. This was the profile he wanted, and our board went all out and got 97 million. One of the top five strikers in the world. We can't forget that he was not only top five, probably top three strikers, Lukaku,
Yeah.
in the
Yeah.
world. He did well in Euros. He was a monster in Euros. Watch him. He was a monster at Inter Milan. People talk about Syria. Yo, I like Syria more than Premier League, so I started to break it down to everybody. But
No, you're right. Just on that. Like you're bang on. You know, he was one of the top strikers. He was banging it for Belgium as well. But didn't the board see enough of Timo Werner after the first season to realize, well, Timo is not going to be the right partner for Lukaku, and Lukaku has ballers in and around him in Belgium and in Inter Milan. His lover boy, Lautaro Martinez, is very technical, very, very technical. Did the board realize once again a combination of Werner and Lukaku will probably not work out because of Werner's lack of technical ability?
well, listen, as I said, our board is not football people. At the end of the day, I don't think they're watching first touch and all kind of thing and seeing how well he passes the ball. I don't think the board be
Bro,
watching
what
all
are they
that.
watching then?
You know what I mean? I don't know if they had the tactical boards out and stuff, but what I know is that, listen, when you think about second strikers, Werner is top on the list. As I said, I called out his stats before. Fantastic. We said that he worked
Yeah,
well. We said before he had a team built around him for Paulson, right? I don't know if I pronounced it right. So
yeah,
now
he's
we got our
awesome. Yeah.
Paulson. So we can't one hand go and say, why we buy Werner for 4-3-3 when they had Paulson and stuff in a 4-4-2 or 4-2-2-2-2? Okay, well now we got Lukaku. Now people are saying, oh, he's not Lautaro Martinez. He doesn't have the ability. The thing is that when you have a player who constantly have 30 goals and assists year after year, let me tell you something.
Mm.
Maybe the individual defending is kind of poor in Bundesliga, but I would say analyzing Bundesliga, the pace of the game is very, 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 very quick. So it's not like he always had, you know, when Saul now came in and he thought he had like a million years on the ball, like in La Liga. Yeah, it wasn't like that. because Syria, I find La Liga is very slow. It's like very slow. So you always
Yeah.
thought he had a million years and he's just getting ramsacked. Yeah, but right. Yeah, for for Werner now, I think that Bundesliga is like a less quality version of the Premier League when it comes stylistically, physicality wise, stylistically. Yes, Werner said that didn't have that it didn't have that big defenders, and that's why I say when it comes down to individual players, it's different quality, but stylistically it is good and like so yeah. Going that's all about Werner. I think that Tuchel actually wanted Lukaku. I don't think that was a board sign. I think he gave them a profile of player, and then the board went out and get the best that was available, and it
No,
didn't
I
work
agree with
out.
you. I agree with that. That he asked for a particular profile, and this was what was given, and that's fine. Let's move on to very good comment here from Triple Joy T. Roy. Thank you so much. Hakimi didn't want to join us, so the board should put more effort on Livra to convince him to stay. 100% agree. And even with the Hakimi didn't want to join us, I don't completely. I mean, yeah, there was all these reports that his wife wanted to be closer to family, this, that, and the other. At the end of the day, money talks, mate. Money talks. He got more money, and Inter got all the money from PSG. I don't think all these other factors. You think what living in London is poor? He would have been on. As I said, it's all about paying the right amount of money. And this is probably one that I feel Thomas Tuchel did probably want because there was rumors about Hakimi and then there was rumors about Adama Traore. But it is what it is. I want to now talk about a few of the other stuff about the board. Ryan, and also to the live chat, please smash the like button. We've got over 160 people live. Get those likes up to 100. We're going to talk about a few of the other interesting sort of facets of this discussion. Ryan, obviously we're talking about how do we catch up with Liverpool and City. Liverpool, doing a madness with Luis Diaz. They're going ahead. That's going to happen. He's so direct. He's so tenacious. I've watched a bit of Luis Diaz for the last couple of seasons. He's a perfect fit. He's a perfect fit, for the Liverpool system and for Klopp. And obviously, we've talked about us being proactive and whatnot. The other factor that I want to talk about is, Ryan, in this whole discussion now is we're getting rid of some of our talented youth players and still persevering with some of our attackers that are continuously underperforming. Now, I can sit here and I can talk about, Thomas Tuchel's system is not conducive to our attack as well. 1v1 situation, missing opportunities, shooting technique poor. This has got nothing to do with the system. I'm talking about players like Armando Broja now possibly moving elsewhere and the board probably going to be cashing in on these type of players. Conor Gallagher, I'm pretty certain the board, if they get a good deal, they'll probably sell as well. We've done that with Livramento. Why, Ryan, from your perspective, the board's not realizing that, sure, this is, as you've already mentioned, this board is very business minded. I get it. It's a business model for us to sell academy players and make money out of them because we've got talented academy players. But if we flip that for a second and think, okay, why don't we just use them as opposed to selling them so that we don't have to go out there and buy these 100 million players who essentially, we don't know, we're taking a gamble. Why don't we just keep with these academy players and then buy in other areas smartly to complement them? Because what's happening, Ryan, is that these teams that are going after our academy players, most notably now Southampton, and also now Newcastle's coming in, West Ham's coming in for Broja. Southampton, for example, is literally going to be reaping benefits from our academy players. Not only it's helping them in league, but we are essentially going to have buyback clauses. Like Livramento, we have a buyback clause for 40 million. So they've given us 6 million or 5 million for Livramento. And if we want to buy him back, which looks like we do now, we have to pay them 40 million. Broja will end up having a buyback clause as well. teams in the Premier League like Southampton are making money out of our own players. Do you know what I'm trying to say?
Yeah.
This is quite crazy. Like, why isn't the board seeing that? Maybe use our academy players.
I think one, I'm just gonna briefly mention for 10 seconds. One is that our squad is massive with respect to the deadwood players that we have, right? And when it comes down to our academy players, I think there needs to be some perspective when it comes into it, right? That our academy, the level of our academy, isn't just to make Chelsea the best football team, right? In playing football. It is just as much a business venture that was made by Roman to get players and keep on getting that income. You see the way we bought a Lukaku by selling people?
Yeah. Yep.
It's the same way that when we sell, we're gonna get that next big player, that Koundé, to come in. This is how it's gonna go, right? We
Yes,
always
I
say this,
agree.
but let me say something.
Mm.
A few seasons ago was Angerin and Gilmore and Ampadu, right? Say, okay, we keep them. Last season was Guehi, Livramento.
Yeah.
This season is Broha, Gallagher,
Yeah.
right? And then had Tamori back there too, right?
Yeah. Tomorrow, 25 million.
If you think about it, if we keep all these players, we'll have a full under 22 team.
Yeah.
So that's why we need to say our academy is special. We can't compare our academy to Liverpool and these other guys or Arsenal who brought in Saka and thing. Because the kind of talent we produce every year, we produce 3 to 4 top talents ready to go in the Premier League every year.
Bro, our academy is one of the best in the world, if not the best. Mark Gehi, Ryan, where would you put Mark Gehi in the Premier League defenders? He's probably one of the better ones in the Premier League, wouldn't you say?
Yeah, he could do it.
Stats apparently say the same thing as well.
He was perfect for a back three. Tomori was perfect for a back three.
Tariq Lamptey. Tariq
Lamptey, right wing back, yeah. So,
Livramento.
Yeah. So, listen, and a lot of people bring up Lamptey now, but we have to remember that Lampard was playing at back four, and Reece James was first choice, and Aspi was second choice. So that's why Lamptey didn't renew. And Lampard actually tried.
Why not put a buyback on his clause?
Yeah, true. But and then we're selling him for 3 million, was it?
2 million.
5 million. 2 million. Yeah. But at the end of the day, so we need to have some perspective when we think about our academy. Not every talented player. Look, next season from now we're gonna have Lewis, like all these people who played Spoon Knife, Spoon Knife and Fork and all these guys, right? All these guys gonna come through again and Soup and all these guys. Soup and all these guys and all these people gonna come through, and then a year from now gonna have new ones. And they're gonna have new ones. And what, for 4 years from now, our whole team gonna be under 23s. And then what's gonna happen to the new 17-year-old? We're gonna say, nah, bro, we have a full under 23 team, so you have to be sold. We have a machine of a academy. For one, of course, for footballing needs, but for two, for financial needs. That's one of our main incomes. And as Chelsea fans, we need to have the right footballing people at the top. A lot of people always like, get rid of Marina. No, she's a really good businesswoman. I'm thinking, even though she has faults, I'm thinking you don't destroy the wall, you build on the wall. You don't destroy everything.
You give her like a footballing person.
Director. And I'm not sure how much Czech is a footballing direct, like how much he is from a footballing point of view when it comes to system and philosophy and this and that, as opposed when you think about other boards and what they have in their as a football and philosophy. Other boards get managers to come in to fit their club's philosophy, whereas we don't, because we don't have one. And,
we never had a philosophy, bro. We don't have a philosophy. Well, our philosophy was counter-attacking football.
Yeah, it was from Mourinho to Ancelotti to Rafa Benitez to Conte. We did have a philosophy. Probably it wasn't the ones that people wanted, but it was a title winning philosophy for more than a decade. But what I'm saying is that we need football minds to help make these decisions on top and to ask these questions that we are asking now. And until then, it's always going to be like this because I don't know how much say Tuchel has in these decisions. You know what I mean? And yeah, so that's what I wanted to say. I just want to say one thing, Vince, with respect to this wing backs, because I feel that was an important thing. Whether it is a lot of people are blaming Tuchel for not blaming Tuchel, sorry, blaming the board for not getting overlapping wing backs. I too would love overlapping wing backs because when I think about all Tuchel's sides for his whole entire career, the two wing backs are almost as the two highest wide wingers or wide wingers, a left winger, a right winger. And what he likes is his inside forwards to come and drop in between the lines and be like attacking midfielders, being creative, getting in behind, playing really good, attractive football. But the thing is that I think this is my idea here. That I think that he realized that the kind of attacking midfielders Chelsea had, they didn't have the quality to do that. Werner between the lines didn't have the quality to do that. Havertz to extent is good running in behind, but dropping between the lines, he still lacks. He'll just back pass. He wouldn't do anything. He wouldn't create. He wouldn't assist. He wouldn't do anything. Mount between the lines, really rugged, physically good, could turn this and that, but not technically good enough. Doesn't have the vision. Doesn't have the passing in him.
Doesn't have really the 1v1 as well. Like could take on a player and skip past them.
Ziyech between the lines, fantastic, but can't take on players. Needs about 2 to 3 other players running forward of him. We need 3 players playing out of position for Ziyech to play his position, basically.
Correct.
We need central midfield. Mount to be a right winger, so right winger Ziyech could be not a right winger. So if I think Tuchel, this is just examples I named there for our inside forwards. Pulisic again, another one who is suited just to run and dribble like he's 17 years old on a football field in Hershey. So we have these inside forwards that I think Tuchel saw that, okay, maybe overlapping wide wingers, wing backs, not going to work because even if we do have them, these guys going to shit the bed between the lines. They don't have the facilities for that.
They don't have the facilities for that, big man.
So I think Tuchel said, okay, what is the second best way to get the best out of these players? Okay, listen, instead of doing the high wing backs thing, Reece James is a fantastic right wing back. He's really good defensively. He could be a more deeper role as a kind of wide midfielder instead of a wide winger. Chilwell could be both because he's just fantastic. Physical ability, pace, technical ability. He could be both. But what I'm thinking is that Tuchel said, okay, with these inside forwards who isn't like a Neymar. If you watch, everybody knows Neymar for his tricks, but watch Neymar for his passing. One of the best vision and passing of a winger I've ever seen. Di Maria, all these players. Mbappe is much more than just pace. He's very smart. He's very technical. He's very good at passing. When you think about the players that he has at Chelsea, you're like, okay, these players can't do that. The best way to get the best out of these forward players here that our club invested 230 million on, and they can't give up on them yet because it's only 1 season or 1.5 seasons. And they're proven to be 30 goals and assist players for the past 3 seasons before they came to Chelsea. Is that I'm going to try to get a focal point that they could play off of. Instead of the high wing backs, I'm okay with Reece James and Azpilicueta. Nobody would have predicted the injuries that would happen this time. This is a freak season, right?
Yep, correct.
Because we know that 2 choices per position is good enough. We've had so much centre backs, plus we had Chalobah, who was like, okay, Azpilicueta, Reece James on it, right? Okay, if you're gonna go deep, players who we don't need too much to be a left winger, where it's like, okay, Alonso is a title winning left wing back. Maybe he is not the best ever, but we have Chilwell, who's our first choice, our replacement for Ashley Cole, this and that.
Chilwell's the one who's going to predominantly play. He'll be the one who's going to play most, and then Alonso just fits in here and there. Yep.
And then even if, so I think that was Tuchel's idea, how to get the best of what he already has. Because listen, we don't build a whole house, right? And just because the painting wasn't working good, or the wiring wasn't good, that don't mean you're going to destroy the whole bloody house and build it from scratch. No. You say we work on what we have. We say, okay, we have this. We might need to remove one or two little things, but we need to keep this because we done work on it for a year and a half. And the board actually got in a manager who has a German philosophy. We got players from Ajax, pressing Leipzig, pressing Bayer Leverkusen. We got in players, Pulisic from Dortmund. We got in players that Tuchel could work with, plus a Hudson-Odoi, plus a Mount that Tuchel could do wonders with. Plus, Tuchel's always known for loving a double pivot. We have one of the two best double sixes. We have Kovacic and Kante and Jorginho. We have fantastic. When you watch Tuchel's central midfield, that's the kind of players he has always. We have the ball playing centre backs. This Tuchel signing made sense. I think it was always going to take some seasons to build what Tuchel wants. And I think Tuchel, yeah.
No, and that's perfect. It's going to take a bit of time for Tuchel to build the kind of team that he needs. It took Klopp a bit of time until he got the team that he wanted. With Pep, after the first season, he knew exactly what needed to be done. And, with the way Man City moves and their board moves, they gave him the facilities. But I do want to now talk about the Tuchel, how you said that it will take a bit of time. But before I do that, Sacco Offense, thank you so much for the super chat once again. Chelsea's like Renvir seeing lots of cash, no sense. Just put yellow and green together and hope for the best. For the people that don't know who Renvir Singh is, he's a Bollywood actor. He's a very, very flashy Bollywood actor that just puts on crazy, crazy clothing. And this is what Sackable Offense is talking about. Albert, thank you so much for the super chat, my man. Appreciate it. You could have commented as well. Thank you so much for the super chat. Ryan's messaging me something. Ryan, don't pay too much attention on every single one of these comments, bro. You got to learn how to filter some of them out. So yeah, don't let it. Now you know why I don't have lives with you always.
No, I didn't mean piss in the English sense. I mean piss as in urinating. Yeah.
Okay, you need to go. Okay, yeah, you go. You go then.
I need to go piss. I wasn't like those comments taking a piss. You know what I mean?
Oh, I thought that's what you meant. No, you go ahead, and then I'll continue on. And then when you come back, I'll fill you in. So, ladies and gentlemen, Ryan pretty much stopped in a particular position, which is perfect. He was talking about that Thomas Tuchel. It's going to take a bit of time for him to build the team that he needs to build, and it's understandable. In one sense, I wish that last summer, I wish Thomas Tuchel got a couple of more players so that he can kickstart this and not have to prolong this process for too long and get a couple of more players like a wing back, perhaps, maybe a midfielder, and that would have maybe helped his situation this season. But it is what it is. Now we're in the situation where, okay, it's going to take Thomas Tuchel a bit of time. He needs the players. But this is where I now want to talk about, well, what sort of players? Do we have the scouts? Do we have the scouts ready and available for Thomas Tuchel to get the kind of players that he needs in the upcoming summer, the subsequent summers after that, in the winter as well? We are not going to do any business in this particular window. That's fine. I've accepted it. Actually, it's not fine, but I've accepted it. Our rivals are going ahead and being proactive. Man City getting themselves a striker who they're going to get in the summer. They've already done the deal. Liverpool getting Luis Diaz. Perfect for them. But what about us? What about us? Are we scouting already? There's talks that apparently we're about to stuff up the Shermani deal as well. There's talks that Shermani, his stocks have risen massively, and he's not going to be worth 50, 60 million anymore. He's going to be somewhere around 80, 90 million now. And there's a lot more suitors out there. There's Real Madrid circling around as well. Real looks to be very much interested. I'm not even sure whether Jules Koundé is something that we can make sure that we get done? Do we have the scouts? Liverpool got Luis Diaz for 37.5 million with add-ons and whatnot. I think it reaches about 50 million or so. Do we have the scouts to bring us this level of players? Are we going to be there for Rafinha, for example? And Rafinha, we've been talking about wide wingers, and Ryan's back. Ryan, basically what I was saying that you stopped in a particular juncture where you were saying Tuchel's going to need time to build the team that he wants to build.
Yeah.
But in order to do that, do we have the scouts that are going to give him the players? I mean, there's no good to go out there and just buy the most fanciest toy out there and then throwing him in. We need to be shrewd. We need to be smart in our purchases to allow for Tuchel to build the kind of philosophy that he wants to build at Chelsea Football Club. Do we have the scouts? Liverpool got themselves Diaz. Man City got themselves Alvarez. We're about to apparently screw up Tchouaméni because Tchouaméni now has many suitors out there. He's doing really well. I mean, Ryan, are we going to be prepared for summer? Whether it be one player, two players, whatever it is. No one's asking for 6, 7 players. But at least give minimum 1 to 2 players. I would say 2 players for Thomas Tuchel in the summer that would enhance this team. I mean, Ryan, do you feel we have the scouts that can do this madness for Thomas Tuchel?
Yeah, I do. I know we're in a bad spot now, but honestly, I think that our board has shown more good than bad intent over the last 3 years when it comes to trying to build something at Chelsea, right? We're in a tough position now. We're now starting to get hit by the pandemic fully with all this financial situation after we did our madness of a transfer window. And we still happen to get 97 million striker. I know you asked if we're going to get the players that Tuchel wants. One, before we do that, we need to start getting rid of the heaviness of the squad. We need to get rid of the weight. Before you could put a nice face.
Who are the players that we need to get rid of? I want to hear from you, Ryan. Who do you think, from your perspective, that doesn't add value at the moment?
First thing I would say, obviously, we need to get rid of the French players, right? Bakayoko, Barkley, Emerson. Get rid of them for good. So I think it's good that Leon said no, so we could probably sell him. Other French players, right? You know who I'm talking about. We have this list forever, right, on Twitter. When it comes to people and the juicy part, the attackers at Chelsea, and everybody's want to think about that because we have about. It's so weird because we always say that Chelsea suit the back 3, but it's kind of at a point that yes, maybe, kinda, but we could see if even in the summer we didn't have the facilities of wing backs needed for a proper back 3. We talked about this. Yet we had 7 inside forwards playing for 2 positions.
Yeah.
So at the end of the day, sometimes the manager cannot always be in the full right. So we need to think about, okay, one, what type of philosophy Tuchel wants to play? Is he going to realize that most of our inside forwards cannot play like this Neymar role, this Bernardo Silva kind of winger who could drop in between the lines and be very creative? So he's going to play more one-touch football, keep Lukaku as that. As he said, Lukaku is this part of the solution. He's not part of the problem. I find that makes sense when he says Lukaku is part of the solution, because I think he was always trying to find a solution for these inside forwards. Now we need to think about which players are suited to play off of a player like Lukaku. Everybody's saying sell Lukaku, sell Lukaku. Listen, Lukaku is our player and he's going to be here, right? Whether you like it or not, he's going to be there.
I'm not sure if he wants to be here. That's the other issue.
Yeah, but Marina isn't going to sell nothing for less than 100 million. We know that. If they can't sell Alonso one thing, they're not going to do their biggest investment.
This is the other thing, Ryan. I'll let you continue on your thought, but just quickly to interject. Marino won't be selling this player for less than 100 million. But this player, if he turns out to be that he doesn't want to play for Chelsea Football Club, like he's lethargic, he doesn't want to put his level best, do we just persevere with a player that doesn't want to be at a club?
The thing is, with Lukaku, I'm gonna put myself out here and say I'm a fan of Lukaku. I think that
And that's fine, bro. That's
I'm
absolutely
gonna
fine.
say I'm a fan of Lukaku. There's some things he needs to. A lot of people talk about bad first touch. Yes, to an extent, but I think his link up play is phenomenal when it works. I think that yes, his pressing he isn't good pressing like a German player who's 5'8" and with 92 pace on FIFA. But I think he still works hard for the team. And I think right now there's just this confusion because nobody knows their roles exactly. As you said, how much chopping and changing had in that front line. I think that when things settle down and when we actually could stop problem solving every week because of injuries and COVID, and we could actually have time with wherever manager and wherever players, I think that we're gonna see better days from Lukaku and he's gonna bang in goals for us. But when it comes to what was that first point I was making before we brought up? It was a good point. It was a good one. Oh, players need to get rid of.
Yeah.
Focal point. We need to think about players who could play off of players, right? So for that reason, I would keep Havertz, right? I would keep Mason, obviously. And I think the big question now is around Pulisic, because as we know his contract situation, etc. I think with Pulisic, I really feel like I haven't seen enough of him, and that says a lot because he's been here for 3 years.
Yep.
So how can they not see enough of a person when he's been here for 3 years? That means he hasn't done enough in 3 years. For me, and I think that I think there's less of a risk selling him than keeping him. Because if he renews his contract, it's going to be on big salary, more years to come. He could be an ex-player that we can't get rid of our books. And he seems like a player who doesn't like being on the bench. Seems like a player who will talk to the media, this and that. And he seems like a player when he's unhappy, it's known. Like, he seems like a player that, yes, he sacrifices for the team. He tries really hard when he's in the pitch. I would say that. He works his butt off at right wing back as false nine, this and that. But he seems like a player that he just like he grows out his beard and stuff when he's benched, and he's just like he doesn't get a haircut for 2 weeks and then he's benched, and he's just like his whole attitude and demeanor is down. Like EO from Winnie the Pooh or something, you know what I mean? So Pulisic, I think when it comes to we have 7 inside forwards, I think he could be the one I would probably let go. Given his injury history also. With Hudson-Odoi, I would keep him because I think he's shown promise. He just needs that mental instinct to keep on taking players on and this and that. So yeah, it's a question to be had, but at the end of the day, I think it all revolves around Lukaku is here to stay, and we need players who could play off of him.
Okay. Your thought process is that in the summer, not only we need to think about who we're going to get, but it's the players that don't fit. But has the club got an idea? That this is what I'm talking about. The board, the club, the scouts, the manager. Have they got an idea? Because what I'm trying to say is that I don't want them to do all the thinking in summer, because that's the worst way to tackle these sort of stuff. I need them to start preparing. It's all about preparation. Life's all about preparation. If you don't prepare, you will fail. And if you're going to prepare when it's time to execute, you will fail. I'm just begging the board that whatever actions you take, you better have a good plan around it. All the stuff that we've talked about, being proactive. If you want to sell the academy players that are so talented, you better have a thought process as to why you're doing that. You can't just be selling off Broja, who then is going to ball out in Southampton, and then a big club down the track will come and buy him, when essentially he could have been your player. The
problem is with these French players is that the board, I don't know, I think we wrongly think Marina sometimes too, because there's probably a lot of people on the board that we don't know the name, so we just name the board Marina. But yeah, let's
most
just
of
say
the times
Marina.
when we say Marina, we pretty much mean the board. Yeah.
Poor Marina, bro. But like, she's probably just one part of about 7 people, and she's just getting every stick. But when it comes to the whole issue is that Chelsea wants to sell their players for top dollar when their players aren't worth top dollar. Because, for example, why do we renew so much contracts before loaning people out? Even players we know that's not going to make it at Chelsea. They always do a 2-year renewal, a 3-year renewal. They always do a renewal.
We did that with Bakayoko.
Yeah, then we also did Batshuayi too, didn't you? Also
we did.
For a bit
we
too?
did. We renewed it for 12 months.
Now, where's even Batshuayi playing? Where's Batshuayi?
In Turkey. He's in Turkey.
I don't even know where his brother is right now.
I don't even know the board knows where he is.
Does he even tweet and things still now? Like,
nah, he's off, bro. He's off.
Right. I remember he used to tweet and stuff a lot. Yeah, but it's like we aren't okay with letting players go, even if it means our squad being big, where morale is low, where things are stirring up. You are in here until we get you off for the price we think you deserve to be sold at. The thing is, we don't have football and people at the top knowing how much these people deserve to be sold for. You know, because we as fans could see this person not worth. Remember when Willian, I think Barcelona wanted Willian, or Manchester
50
United wanted
million.
Willian. Exactly.
50 million.
But I don't know how much we put on Willian's head, but it wasn't coming from a place that had football people on top thinking about it, because no way he was with that or more. And we seem to get, and then after, now our young players would be going for cheap. So it seems like the fans know the value, the football and value of our young players, but the board don't. And we know the value of our French players, but the board don't. It's like a disconnect. It's like a contrast in opinions.
Massive disconnect. And it all comes down to having that structure, that, director of football who knows what's going on.
A footballing people.
Footballing
real
people.
Footballing minds.
Absolutely. Real footballing minds. Scouts that are in tune as well. We are, as we've said, we've talked about so many different things, being proactive in the market, knowing that you had Chilwell injured back in November. Your scout team should have been able to produce 5-6 names already for the manager, whether it be loan, whether it be short-term contracts or whatever, something for the manager to work with. And if it was Emerson, then get on the phone immediately and get that done. It's matters like this. When you know that you've got Kante, Jorginho, and Kovacic, you got yourself Saul, who you're not really favoring. Why are you still continuing on with Saul then? Why haven't you cancelled that loan and just got someone else? Maybe bring back an Ampadu. I'm not the board. I'm not the one who makes the solutions here, but I'm just saying, I feel like we are we only start thinking when an issue arises. We don't think about what can happen. We don't look ahead, plan ahead. And I know you can sit there and say, well, how can you plan for an injury? I'm not talking about just injuries.
So we're talking about like contacts. I know you probably have really good contacts. So I just want to know, like, examples.
Like Thomas Tuchel wanted wingbacks, right? And if you look at our squad, forget about the injuries that we have. I don't think we ever had adequate wingbacks for Thomas Tuchel besides Reece James. And even from the start of the season, most people penciled him down as an RCB, not really a wingback. So what was the thought process? Forget about the injury crisis that we have now. Did we from the get-go actually have did we actually think Alonso and Azpilicueta were going to be helping Thomas Tuchel challenge for a title with those wingbacks? Did we actually think that?
And Miss, I want to say something about wing backs also, right? Yes, as per and Alonso, they are not attacking, overlapping wide wingers, wing backs, right? Not. By the end of the day, we talked about one aspect where our inside forwards is better at linking up, not the Neymar role where they could be playmakers, right? But we need to think about that. Think about the positions a wide winger would occupy, wide wingers, right? But you think as our inside forwards, most of that we have Pulisic, we have Hudson, or we have Ziyech, who are good in wide roles. So when they are given the chance to play inside forward for Chelsea, they're supposed to be performing, even though they didn't get to start in a 4-4-2, 4-1-4, 1-4-3-3, they're still occupying wide positions. It makes a big difference. I'll do a try on that one day, but not big enough in difference that your whole performance is off. You know what I mean? Your whole performance is off the rails. So I think it makes sense that maybe we didn't have maybe we have inverted wing backs and wide forwards instead, because and maybe that was the thing. We couldn't do a whole squad. Okay. I understand Tuchel probably wants overlapping wing backs one day, but it's kind of like saying, Tuchel, we can't get all these players you need right now. So think about what you could do this season with the squad you have and where's one thing you want, really. And then after next season, we'll get this second and third thing you want, and then we'll be a Tuchel club and we'll sell some players. But right now, we can't. And I think that's what happened. Because we said that we rather 3 people who is cheap, right? Like a 30 or 2 people who is 30 million, 30 million, 30 million, right? 97 instead of Lukaku, right? But think about that. On that same end, we could probably get 330 million people, and there could be another Alonso, another Emerson, another thing. So I think they thought that, okay, we won Champions League, right? With this team. Tuchel seemed to like this team. Let's add on to that. And we add on with the very best striker it is, Lukaku.
Okay. And I like your approach on this particular matter, contrary to what I said. Okay, we go with Aspi and Alonso being inverted sort of fullbacks. We can't change the entire team. I'll give you the one thing that you can ask for. Okay, you want a reference point? I'll give you Lukaku. Okay, fine. That's okay. But circumstances change, right? Right? Circumstances change. You see how the season goes. Then you have the injuries. Shouldn't there be a reaction, or do you still say, no, we carry on with what we have, we forgo this season, and we try and aim for the summer? I mean, is that the attitude? Should we not be aggressive to say, okay, Chilwell just got injured. That's not something that we took into consideration. But hey, scouts, let's get active. Or the board, let's get active to come up with a plan for Thomas Tuchel so he doesn't have to struggle in the months of December and January. And history suggests those months are quite difficult. And this season, it got even more difficult with players testing positive. Shouldn't there be a little bit more hustle and bustle that, yeah, we had something planned from the start of the season, but under the new circumstances, shouldn't we try and react quick to that now? Or we are okay, status quo, because that's what's happening right now. We've talked about how we said that Thomas Tuchel simply just finding solutions. That's it.
I think it all comes down to that Chelsea squad, from a financial point of view, it's too loaded. And the mistake Chelsea makes, and it's one that we're paying for 2-3 years after, is that we did not get rid of the French players that we needed to. And not only that, we did not get rid of them, we bought them out of Nice. We bought them, like panic buy bought them in January, most of them. Most of these players that need to leave, we panic bought them for 20 and 30 million, right? In a January window, and now we can't seem to let them go for the price that we want. the best we could get for them is low prices, right? Like, and the thing is, they're trying to avoid that same situation happening now. As I said, until we get rid of those players, new ones ain't gonna come in.
And on that, Ryan, they're not going to be getting good money for some of the like, forget about the fringe players. The fringe players, the board is crazy for keeping them on. I'm talking about some of our frontline players that we've seen enough of. For example, you've talked about Pulisic. I can't mention this word because I get insulted. So I'm going to say, I'm going to put all the blame on you, right? You talked about Pulisic, that you've seen, well, you've not seen enough of him for 3 years. Marina's smacking a 58 million pounds price tag on Pulisic. Which effing club out there is actually going to put 58 million on Pulisic? These are the things that I'm talking about, Ryan, that we talk about. We need to get rid of players before we bring in some new ones in summer. Can we get rid of players? History suggests we can't get rid of players.
Yeah, so that question, Tyson, that's gonna finish my answer to the first one, is that let's put a full stop on that thought, was that we didn't panic, or I would call it panic buy, because we need to panic or we're in a crisis, injury crisis. So we didn't panic buy players like a Digne or a Dest or these players that we wanted, or a Traore, because we are afraid that they aren't good enough in the long term, and we would end up in a same situation where we are in Alonso, Emerson, Bakayoko, this and that. So they're avoiding that. And they say we'd rather play Sa and Chaloba and stuff in these positions, change formation, work with the manager in a way that let's see what we can do with the players we have. Right? Because we have a big squad, right? If we could change our formation to match our big squad, that would be better. You know what I mean? Instead of getting more trouble for the long term. You know? So, and we do have this squad to change our back four. So that was probably a discussion, right? So, okay, now that we have got that out of the way, you'd ask about, what was the second question? Sorry. You'd ask a good question.
The fringe. Can we actually get rid of some of these players? Like, not just the fringe, but like some of the frontline players. For example, Pulisic.
That is the issue. I've backed the board on a lot of things throughout this hour and 37 minutes. The next thing I'll back about the board is how well they carry about themselves, as opposed to PSG director, Real Madrid director, Barcelona director, who just be speaking out like they're in a Real Jersey show or something like that. And whereas our directors are very classy and we keep it inside, and we are a very classy club in that respect. So a lot of good things going on for our board. They're trying a lot. But I think the main thing to put a full stop on this is that we don't have the footballing minds on top, right? To kind of be the catalyst for our business, to be the foundation and root of our business, right? And that ends up having a kind of off valuation for our players that we want to bring in and we want to get rid of. And we kind of in a place from a business point of view, we want to make the most profits and net profits and this and that. But since the football valuation is off, we can't seem to get rid of these players for the price that we want. And we're digging ourselves into a deeper hole, because now it's making the team unhappy. It's making the manager have unrest and double think. And then it's making, and then we can't buy new players. So all of that just to get a couple $1 million more. It really shows that we are in it for the short-term financial gain.
Absolutely.
But trying to gain the short-term financial gain, we're paying for it in the long term in both football and finances. So that's the problem. We don't have the football minds on top to rule our business decisions.
100%. And this goes on to the fact that you were saying that you're confident in the summer that we can do something. If I'm being honest, Ron, I'm not confident, because I'm worried that we don't have the footballing minds upstairs to seek out gems. I'm not talking about get yourself a Declan Rice for 100 million. I'm not talking about get Erling Haaland now. Just because Lukaku didn't work out, let's get Erling Haaland. Like, I'm talking about the Alvarezes that Man City is getting from River Plate.
I'm done with these big signings too, for real though. Like,
I remember, Ryan, you always used to tell me, like, there are other players to get. We don't necessarily need to get these big time signings just because we think it looks good on paper. Like, there are other players that could possibly be a far better fit. But once again, Ryan, that's not on us. Like, I'm not a scout. Do you know what I mean? Like, I don't watch 10,000 games every week,
Yeah, and
but the scouts do.
I think
And they
that's a
need to
huge thing
understand.
with Chelsea. The scouts. I think that everything needs to be in line together. Scouts, manager, board, philosophy, players, right?
Yeah.
Everything needs to be in line. We are getting there, I would say. Listen, we aren't there. We're not nearly there, but I'm seeing the foundation set. The kind of personnel we have, the manager we have. Over the past 3 seasons, we're trying to change our philosophy, this and that. It's now adding on to that how we could get more football directors in who could help us with those football decisions, how we
Mm,
could get a better scouting into it. I don't think it's about just destroying the board, destroying the squad, selling 5 6 players, this and that. It's about how we could work together as one and really have a really long term plan at it, even beyond Tuchel. When Tuchel gets sacked or he leaves after his contract and Nagelsmann could come in, how we could carry on that legacy. Because after
mm,
Pep, there's going to be a next great manager to come in who will play possession based football. After Klopp leaves,
absolutely.
there's going to be a next possession based manager to come in. We need to have that plan, a long term plan. This is our philosophy. This is Chelsea. The manager fit Chelsea, not Chelsea fit the manager.
Correct.
And I think that'll take time. I think we're seeing foundations of it built even since the Sarri era. It will take time, but at the end of the day, I still think our board lapses in football judgments and are making that time longer than it needs to be. So it's
Mm,
a balance take. I don't blame the board fully because they've been doing things right, but I think they've reached their um was it not border but the ceiling of how much
mm,
they could do with the capacity of football minds they have behind the decisions, right?
mm,
So I think that
mm.
they've been good to reach the ceiling, but we need to go above that ceiling now to actually create something special at Chelsea and kind of renew our philosophy and not only turn a chapter but make a new book out of Chelsea FC, and that's going to take more than just what we have right now.
No,
So
100%. 100%. And I've said it as well that we could possibly do a madness in a cup situation. And Ryan, in a sense, you're right. I mean, the board, at the end of the day, they're the ones who have been sacking managers left, right, and center. I don't even remember the last time a manager actually made to 2 years stint. I think it might have been Jose Mourinho. So for Thomas Tuchel, hopefully he can reach the 2 year mark. That would be the first milestone. And then from there, hopefully, our board can change their mentality, that they're patient with the manager. Obviously, we need to see progress, of course. But at the same time, the board needs to be providing ingredients every now and then as well, throwing in those players for Thomas Tuchel to then, carry on and developing. But yeah, you're right. In order to create something special, Ryan, we have to be patient, but at the same time, we need the right personnel in the hierarchy because right now, Liverpool and City, they are way ahead in the game. And I'm talking about winning the league. We are nowhere there to win a league yet, I personally feel. We can do
yeah,
madness in cups. We could probably do another madness in the Champions League. I don't know. We're
yeah,
already in the Carabao Cup final. But if you want to win the league, you got to operate the way Man City and Liverpool are operating.
yeah.
It's not a
Miss,
coincidence
you're
that they're
hitting the
doing
nail on
well.
the head there, you know. Yeah. Now continue. I disagree
Yeah,
with you.
yeah, I was saying that it's not a coincidence that Man City and Liverpool, over the last 3, 4, 5 seasons, I believe, they're the ones who are competing for the title and they're blowing the other teams away. It's not because of just Pep and Klopp and the caliber of players they have. It's because of all the personnel they have in the hierarchy. For example, I keep bringing on about Luis Diaz. They know that Mane and Salah are their frontline players, but they're not going to be around forever. They've got themselves Jota, who's flying. They were looking for someone who could possibly, fill in for Salah or Mane, as because Jota is just one, so they needed another one. They got in that I think Japanese player Takumi Minamino, and they've quickly realized that maybe that's not the answer, and they're looking to ship him off. This is the thing, they operate very well. When they realize that something's not working, they don't stick around hoping like Chelsea that it will work. They make a decision. They make a decision that we've seen enough of you and it's not cutting it, you need to go. So now they're probably in the market to letting Minamino go. And what do? They get themselves Luis Diaz, who's tenacious, who they've seen for a long time, who can score, who can assist, who has that shithousery about him as well. And they've now plugged a hole. So if something was to happen to Mane and Salah down the track, if they were to leave, well, they're setting themselves up with Jota and Luis Diaz. That's how you progress. Man City with Alvarez, but Man City with Pep Guardiola, do you know what I mean? Like, he's doing madness. Even without a striker, he's just finding different ways to play football.
Yeah.
But even they don't hang about. They're busy. They keep adding one player, two players every window, keeping things fresh. But Klopp, especially Klopp, it took a while for them to now click into gears. But he had the director of football, Edwards. Now they've got this other person who's apparently the one who got Luis Diaz. So we need to get that. So, yeah, go on, bro.
I just want to close off. I just want to say that I've supported the board a lot here, but I'm going to crack into them for this final point on a negative. Just leave them with this, that the precedent of player power has destroyed Chelsea for the past decade, despite
we didn't
top
talk about
success.
this. Yeah.
Right? And that's on the board. And it all bases from a lack of long-term planning. I'm not talking about 10 years, 5 years. I'm talking about 4 years. Long-term as in 4 years planning. A lack of and it's not, a lot of players will come on streams, right? They would hear what Pulisic said, what Shadow think was too bad, Lukaku said, etc., etc. And they will be like, oh, our team has a mentality problem. I'm telling you with this lot that we can't win nothing in the long term because they don't have the mentality when it gets hard. Listen, most of these players only come in 18 months ago, 24 months ago. They weren't here. Player power has been here as long as I could remember since AVB.
Yeah, forever.
With our heroes, with Lampard and everybody else when they were out of the team.
Yeah.
Right? Then it dragged on to the Mourinho era. You know, with our new players who came in, with the Costas and this and that, with the Williams and this and that. It dragged on with new players who weren't there in the ATB period, right? Because they knew that the board didn't have a long-term plan, right? That the board always wanted to find quick solutions for problems. Instead of long-term solutions or the better solutions, they would do quick-term for quick-term results. So, and I think the real one was the Mourinho sacking. After winning a league title, that set the precedent for what's to come. Because if you could sack a Chelsea legend, three titles, a Chelsea legend like Jose Mourinho, after winning the title, only a couple months after, because of players who weren't happy. I remember our same fans who praise and love Hazard, they were the same ones who booed him and had those signs like him and Fabregas was a rat and just get out of the club. I remember those banners. Everybody just seems to forget and they just leave out information so they could push their own agenda. But yeah, that's how it was. And then Mourinho eventually got sacked, right? The thing is with Conte, he was perfect, one of the perfect managers to take one from Mourinho. Counter-attacking style, defensive football, title-winning football, great mentality. Thing is, again, with that, players like Willian and stuff wasn't happy, came out and said that he wasn't a people person. Hazard wasn't happy. Other players wasn't happy. Costa wasn't happy. David Luiz wasn't happy, right? And then it happened again. They lost the dressing room. The results didn't come. The players weren't trying again. And yes, manager goes. And then manager Sarri came in. People like Cahill and stuff wasn't happy with Sarri. Yeah, a good bit of players weren't happy with Sarri's way of football, with how he was. They say he was really strict on what he wanted.
Rob Green as well. Rob Green.
Yeah, that he was real specific and stubborn with his tactics and same like that. Sorry, that even though our team played very good against Arsenal, our team didn't back Sarri to that extent. It wasn't going to work out, right? And then with Lampard, the same thing happened with our new players that came in. These players weren't there under Sarri really. They weren't okay. They were probably some of them was there under Sarri, but they weren't there under Mourinho. Most of them, but it dragged on to the new players coming in because it set this precedent that it's player power over everything. Chelsea finds quick solutions. So whereas players coming into Liverpool knows Klopp is the boss. I fit the Klopp.
That's the difference. That's the difference, bro.
With Pep is the boss, right?
Yeah.
Even with now Xavi is the boss because he has a standing at Barcelona.
100%.
We do not have, and Arsenal is trying to do that now. They got rid of Ozil, and then they got rid of Aubameyang. That's two statement getting rid of now.
Yeah.
That's two statement things that nobody's gonna play player power at Arsenal. Now all the young players are saying, I better play some damn good football because this manager's here to stay. Let's get onto this philosophy. And it's working.
You know what? As much as we laugh about Arsenal, they are backing Arteta, even though maybe we may laugh from the outside that this guy's not. But I admire the fact that the board is giving Arteta that you're the man. You are going to be on top, not players.
And worst case scenario, you get somebody to pick off from where Arteta left. Possession-based philosophy that they always try to. It always had a when's the Arsenal way of playing football from Wenger. You know what I mean? So as long as player power reign, it doesn't matter. We always say like, oh, we need to buy new leaders and stuff. This lot not good enough. But like, listen, it don't matter which new players come in because they adapt to the environment already set. They're not gonna come and change the environment. They're not gonna come and become John Terry's, etc., etc. They're gonna come and fall in. And listen, what I really think, learning more information now, that Lukaku wasn't talking for himself only when he said he wasn't happy with the situation. I think he had a lot of support from other players he was talking to, and he felt that he was talking for his players too, as that locker room leader kind of thing. Because when you hear now that a lot of players aren't playing in good position, in their preferred position, this and that, you don't think these conversations happen. And when he went out and talked, I don't think it was only about himself. He was talking about in general. So, as I said, as player powers here, Tuchel could come and go, Nagelsmann could come in, Ten Hag could come in, where anybody could come in. As long as we don't have a long-term future and our board putting their foot down and saying we're going to back this manager despite the short-term losses, we're going to have a long-term gain. Things will never solve at Chelsea to become a dominant force in Europe or a title-winning force in England. There will always be that team that wins cups and comes second, third. We don't even come second anymore. Come third or fourth.
We don't even come second, bro. We're always fighting for fourth.
So that is the problem with our board right there. Lack of planning, short-term success over long-term gain.
Yeah.
Always on the back foot, always problem-solving, critically thinking. No plan, no structure. So I would say I said a lot of good things about them. They're trying to fix a lot of things. But at the end of the day, we're still haunted by a mindset that's been here for more than a decade now.
No, 100% spot on. And on that note, that's the best way to finish this particular stream. It's been a long stream, but it's been a very good stream. We talked about a whole heap of things. To each and every one of you guys, thank you so much for sticking around and being part of this particular discussion. This is why in recent times I've been upset. The Athletic article by Simon Johnson, where player power once again talking about being upset about the manager and the way he talks, the treats, brutal, this, that. That's what I don't appreciate. I don't appreciate it. And my final message is, if you don't want to be here, then go. To the players, if you don't want to be around, then leave. Don't go out there in public and try and put the club in a difficult situation. I know a lot of them are just doing it for their own benefit, but maybe try and put the club first, and then your future hopefully will be looked after. But yeah, ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much once again. Smash the like button before you go. If you're here for the first time, subscribe. Make sure you follow Ryan on Twitter. The link is in the description. Hit the bell notification as well. I probably might do a video later UK evening. So do look out for that, maybe around 9 p.m., somewhere around that time. So do look out for that. Until next time, everyone, take care and see ya.